Kia ora koutou katoa. Nau mai, haere mai ki te kaupapa o tēnei ata. Te kaupapa Te Hinengaro Miharo. Welcome to the first live session of Te Hinengaro Miharo. Hinengaro translates as our mind, our thought processes, how we think about things, our conscious awareness. And Miharo is Māori for amazing. In other words, these sessions are all about the amazing brain and how we as whānau can support our tamariki during this challenging time with COVID-19. Ko waio. Ko Deb Rewiri ahau. I will be leading these 20-minute live sessions on a Monday and a Friday over the next 2 weeks. Together, you, the audience, and myself will simplify the brain, learn some practical strategies, and weave it all together with tikanga and paki waitara. Today, we're going to be focusing on 2 topics, brain architecture and introducing important Māori parenting practices. Before we begin, please join the kōrero, add your comments and questions, and I'll try to answer them at the end of the session. Also, you may have some good suggestions for other parents who are dealing with situations with their tamariki too. I want to begin with a whakatauki, and it seems to be a relevant one at this period of time. Nāku te rauro, no te rauro, ka ora ai te iwi. And that is from a cultural context and within a growth mindset, because it really says cooperation and combining resources helps everybody to progress. And I heard Sir Peter Gluckman on a news report this morning when I was hanging out my washing. And he said he wanted to acknowledge Māori who have responded with consideration and wisdom. And I was thinking about this because Te whānau Apanui are one of my iwi, and they were the first ones that were instrumental in creating the roadblocks. And that was really important for them because it was about protection of our kaumātua that were living in that particular area, and also thinking about the other whānau that were domiciled there too. The other thing I really think is important is that iwi Māori have basically, around the motu, got off, begun to look at the resourcing and thinking about how can they better support our whānau, our hapu and our iwi who are probably struggling with trying, especially those ones in rural areas who can't get to the shops. So how can we institute, a support system where they manage to get kai brought into them? So here in the north, Ngāpuhi have been very instrumental in doing that. So if we think about that whakatauki again, it is all about protection of our whānau, our hapu, our iwi. And within that context, like our tamariki are part of that protection process for us. I just want to share with you some information around an anthropologist. His name was James Prescott, and he studied Indigenous cultures. And he found that Indigenous cultures who carry their babies around close to their physical bodies within the first 6 months of that baby's life have lower levels of violence within the culture. And we as iwi Māori were up there. And this was before the 1990s. I'm talking about forever, Mairano, that the observers who came here, the first colonizers, what they saw was, and what they thought was, we spoilt our babies because there was a protection mechanism that was set up for them. Our babies were free to play and learn at their pace. There was no rules that said children had to be seen and not heard. Quite the opposite, actually. So there was a lot of playfulness that these observers saw, and they've certainly been noted down and collated by historians to be able to share with our whānau. So I want to talk a little bit about the brain. So getting back to the architecture of the brain, babies are born with over 80 billion brain cells. Well, actually, we're all born with over 80 billion brain cells. And these cells come from our DNA, you know, from the gene template that we get from our mama and our papa. And the role or the responsibility of these brain cells is to connect up. And the way they connect up is within the environment they encounter. So that's why we talk about nature and nurture. So whatever environment these little babies encounter means that helps their brain to connect up. And when I say environment, whether you come into an environment which is loving and kind and patient and nurturing, that is wiring up the brain, but so is the reverse. So if we've got a stressed parent and there's no support around them, then the brain will wire up anyway. Now, I want to talk about this because I think it's really important. Whatever we think, whatever we feel, what we imagine, what we dream and hope for in the future is all being mediated through the brain. So this is important to remember, that the brain is important. However, what I also want to say is the heart has its own neurons, and the brain and the heart talk to each other through this and create what we call this coherence, this brain-heart talk that happens. And when we're coherent, well, in a relaxed state, you know, that means that the brain is more able to think, more able to think, more able to plan. Oh, sorry. More able to plan and to become more critical in our thinking. You know, we can have children who are learning how to walk, learning how to talk, and our engagement with them is all again mediated through the aspects of the brain. What I want to say with this is that now, if our brain becomes stressed, so if myself as a mama or a papa, I'm stressed and I have, you know, I react to a situation instead of responding. If we think about babies, babies are really sensory beings. So they're watching everything we do, they're listening to us, they're smelling us. Actually, Auntie Rose Pere says our babies come in fresh from the other side. And what that really means is that they already have wairua intact. So wairua, they are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So if they've come in, you know, intact spiritually, all we really need to do is to actually help to nurture them to grow into their fullest potential. Getting back to stress. When our brain is stressed, we react from the lower parts. So, you know, if our brain is mostly, importantly, is a survival response. So that survival response is online as babies. That's why they can't calm themselves. They actually need a big person to come in and calm them. And that's really important, because you will never ever, can't do it, won't work, spoil a baby. Every time a baby is stressed, how do they let us know? They cry. Babies cry when they're hungry, when they want their nappy changed, when they want to be hickey-hickied. So hickey-hickey the baby. You are not going to spoil that baby. They need, and again, historically, this is what we did. We held babies close to our bodies. They got that skin-to-skin contact. They got the maternal heartbeat. And that was really beneficial for them. Kia ora. I see that there's some people online. So kia ora to you. Remember, any questions or comments on how you are supporting each other within your bubble context is really important for us to hear. So survival response, feeling responses, and thinking responses. Those are the keys to what is happening inside our brain, and important for us to remember. Right, stressful situations. I mean, COVID-19 has been stressful, not only because of that terminology, lockdown, stay in your bubble, but also because there's a lot of unknown. There's unknowns about, you know, when are our tamariki going to be able to socialise? If you think about, brains are built to be in relationship. You know, we're the only species on the planet that can think about thinking. And also, we're born to be in relationship. There was a term I heard a neuropsychiatrist say one day, transgenerational developmental heterogeneity. Bruce Perry was his name. And I remember walking up to him in the conference and saying, gee, we have a term for that in Te Ao Māori. And he said, why? That's nice. What is it? And I said, whakawhanaungatanga. It actually means the same thing. So again, coming back to that kaupapa of thinking about Te Ao Māori, what is beneficial for the whole is going to be beneficial to the one. Shout out to Rossi, who, what are you going to say, Rossi? I haven't read the question yet. Okay, well, I'm sure the question will come up, so meantime, I'll talk about this. Auntie Rose and her kōrero. She is amazing, and she has an amazing brain that she always talks to us about how she trusts her mokopuna to be able to determine whether people are good or not. And that's a really interesting concept, because there was some research done, and the research found that babies are more adept at picking up facial tone and texture so that they can actually read whether a smile is genuine or not. Now that, I think, is pretty amazing. Remember, they're sensory beings. So let's think about this COVID, the stress response system. We saw it when the level lifted to level 3. You know, time and time again, the Prime Minister and sorry, I've forgotten his name, the health expert, he's come out and continued to say, please, we're not out of the woods. Ashley Bloomfield, that's who it is. Kia ora, Jace. Ashley Bloomfield. Consistently, their message has been, stay in your bubble. You know, yes, we're going to open up these, but remember your distancing. And what we saw was people that got into survival response. And I mean, I know that it's, we're thinking about how can it be over takeaways? But if you think, like, you've been in a situation where you haven't been able to access your normal activities, the moment something's lifted, of course you're going to either respond and, well, react in some different ways. Some of us will be overcautious and say, no, I'm going to stay in my bubble. I'm not going to venture out. In that situation, still be kind to them. Others will say, okay, it's lifted, but how can I keep myself and my bubble safe? And if I am going to join, you know, in terms of the wider whānau, who is it that we begin to let in? And can we transition it? Can we do it in a step-by-step process? And then there's others that say, yay, takeaways open, let's go. And off they go without thinking about the consequences. And I mean, we've seen the pictures where people are crowding around a takeaway and because they can't hear if their number's been called out or not. So again, and they're not even noticing, they're distancing. So again, you know, think of it as a spectrum that will react in different ways. But it's important for this time that the more that we as parents, as whānau, as adults over the age of 28, you have a fully myelinated brain. And what that means is that you can engage your cortex and your prefrontal, which houses empathy. And empathy is the ability to actually walk or feel into somebody else's experience. So if we're doing that, then basically we're thinking about how other people are cohering their world. And yeah, I think that's important. So remember, be kind as much as possible and calm yourself down. So we've got 5 minutes to go. Is there anyone who has any questions before we finish? Please post them up and we'll respond to them. If not, I want to talk about expanding empathy. Empathy is an important process here in the prefrontal cortex. And as I said before, it is about feeling into someone else's experience. And it's beyond whānau and social grouping. It is critical to a well-functioning nation. And as we sit at level 3 and note that there have been, you know, no further cases today, and we want to celebrate, yeah, let's do it quietly and confidently. And think about, you know, we want all these gains to make a difference. It's important. If there's one thing our tupuna knew, it was to wait and to act at the right time. There's a question from Shona. I haven't seen the question. So, during my mahi, my nieces came home grizzly crying and really upset. Oh, sorry. I know now why. Oh, here it is. My question, can other energy attached to babies or anyone? During my mahi, my nieces came home grizzly crying and really upset. I gave them a miri to calm their wairua down. My question, can other energy attached to babies or anyone? Yeah, definitely. There certainly is. Remember I said babies and children, particularly young children, because they're reading their environment through their sensory system. So what they see, what they think, what they feel, and from a Te Ao Māori perspective, a wairua, if they're sensing something that's not quite right. I remember Mama said to me one day, we had a wonderful weekend at my cousin's, But the baby played up the whole time. And I said to her, was there anything else happening? And she said, no, they were fine. And she said, then I got home and they told me that they were separating actually, but they'd managed to fake it in front of the adults. But this baby was picking up on some other energy that was actually, you know, present in the room. So when you talk about attaching, I think the term is to, are they picking up on it? Yes, they are. Are they responding to it? Yes, they can be. And so, you know, you giving them a miri, physical touch is really important to actually help calm our babies down. And doing it at the period of time when they're ready to have that. So it's not so much, oh, mama's ready to miri them, but you picked on, you attuned to them, and you could see that they were a little bit stressed. And so what you did was actually help them come back to a state of calm. And that's what rupture and repair means. It means when there's a rupture, that actually there's the capacity to actually help repair that bond or that relationship with the child. Remember, parents, forgive yourselves for if you have times of stress and you may lose it. Find a place for you to be able to do one of these three things, I think is really important. And they're so simple. Breathing. Now, we do it unconsciously every day, but where are we breathing? At the top, up here, in the shallow, are we shallow breathing? And if we are, just notice, put your hand there and notice where your breath is coming from. And then move your hand down to your diaphragm and see if you can deep breathe. Deep breathing is really beneficial for the brain and helping us to calm down. Okay, the other thing I want to say is singing. It doesn't matter if you're flat or if you sing flat, put some music on and sing, because these processes are actually helping to draw down these feel-good substances within your brain, these feel-good hormones. The other thing is playing. Now, play is children's work, and they spend a lot of time playing. And this is the reason why. They're trying to figure their world out through work, which is play. So, yeah, do these things. And again, it's drawing down these hormones. Generally, if we're singing and we're playing, we're generally laughing. Now, someone did some research and they found the three highest ways to draw down these happy hormones is through laughing, physical activity, and singing. So that's how simple it is. And hopefully you're out there and hopefully you're making some more suggestions as to what we can do better. In terms of Te Ao Māori, I've been watching the Facebook live sessions on Te Kohanga Reo, and they've been sharing a lot of waiata, which is really, really awesome. So I really want to thank you for giving your time, making your time available for Hinengaro Miharo. Again, just to remind you that we'll be on Friday at this time. And to any further comments or questions, please post them up. Let me know what you think. Was the information useful? So this is our first session and we really want to make it, you know, valuable for you, the viewer, and we want to improve over the next couple of weeks. Tune in on Friday at 4 p.m. for my next session. Well, we will be talking more about the amazing brain and covering te mana o te whānau, healthy relationships. There's more information on child development interwoven with tikanga and Paki Waitara. Actually, I was reading the Paki Waitara about Maui tiki tiki. Now, my suggestion is for you whānau to get on to go into whakatipu, have a look at that Paki Waitara. What you could do at home is for your tamariki to play different parts in that scenario, or ask them if they're willing to have a think about, what do you think about this, about Maui tiki tiki? What do you think some of the lessons were he was trying to learn? Why was he pushing boundaries? What was that about? What do you think his relationships were? Who were they formed with? And for what purpose? So again, I'd like to encourage you to access that. And that's on the Skip website. They're all free, so you can access them at any time. Any questions you've got about your child and how they're developing, whakatipu.skip.org.nz. Also, check out Brainwave Trust at brainwave.org.nz. So again, thinking about empathy, thinking about how you find a way to relax, forgive yourself for the ruptures that may have happened in your relationship. Understand that, a brain is about survival, but it's also about nurturing qualities too. So how can we become more responsive and less reactive at this particular period of time when it's stressful for all of us? So, kia pai tō rā. Have an awesome rest of the day. Ka kite, see you on Friday.